all right, when we're talking about online safety. And we're not just talking about sex trafficking right now. We're talking about bullying. We're talking about sextortion. We're talking about inappropriate images. Kids know more about computers nowadays than we'll ever know at this point. Okay? They literally have the ins and outs. They speak their own language. We all need protection. Doesn't matter if it's you, your family. I need protection. You need protection. This also goes towards you guys as far as private information. Okay? That can be worked out as fraud or identity theft. And they do like to steal the identities of children. It is like inviting somebody into your home. You're inviting other people with information into your house, good or bad. Content and contact. When we talk about content, we talk about visual images. When you type in, and we'll get to it, when you type in like James Bond and you get bondage images, that's content. You know, disturbing stuff that would bother a normal human being. And we talk about contact. Contact is actual somebody reaching out to try to make contact with that child or with that adult over the internet. Win this free Xbox thing, they click on it, and guess what? They got a virus. Or they click on it and a new picture pops up. Okay, they befriend these people on these games, Fortnite, stuff like that. They become friends with them. Problem is, a lot of strangers lie about their profiles on these chat rooms. Listen to the information they give out. They don't even know they're doing it. My dad does this, my dad does that. They're freely giving this information out. I listen to my son all the time on Xbox Live. And I'm like, hey, watch what you're saying.
Who are you talking to?
Because they get so wrapped up in the game, they just start talking about their family life. And they don't know if they're talking to a 14-year-old or they're talking to a 40-year-old.
Well, today we're going to find that out. I made a fake profile on Facebook posing as a 15-year-old boy.
Nowadays, you don't send your child out without knowing where they're going or what's happening and without giving them a time frame to come back. Okay? It kind of applies to being online. Okay? It's not healthy for a kid to be online for 8 hours a day. It's just not healthy. And when your kid gets on the internet, you're not just say, hey, get on the internet, be off at 5. You need to know what they're doing on the internet, where they're going, and who they're talking to. Okay? It's the same principles apply when you're sending your child down to a friend's house. These right here all play into YouTube for me. Kids are on YouTube all the time. Their YouTube videos now, they'll play the YouTube videos where you think your child is watching Daffy Duck for the first 10 minutes and the video is actually 30, and then 10 minutes in between it switches to inappropriate content and then goes back to Daffy Duck. You don't want to frighten your child. You don't want to say, what the heck are you doing? You want to listen to them. Listen to what they have to say. Was it an accident? Explain to them, this is not your fault, okay? This is the internet's fault. And we'll talk about what they do. Answer any questions they have, and if you want to report it, something really bad, then report it. Well, Facebook stalk. I call it Facebook stalking because that's what it is. They try to find the individual, they look at their webpage. Now, if you're trying to hire a babysitter and she seems nice and you go to her Facebook page, she's all tatted out, she's got a big joint in her hand and a beer, you're not going to hire that babysitter. And this is where it's going to come in. If they have hate speech, if they write the political opinion to somebody, or they take pictures of underage drinking, you're right. They go to college, they see those. How many political figures are having stuff torn up from their past from the 80s, back before internet was even available? And they're finding photos. Passwords, home location, cell phone numbers, email addresses. As a predator, if I'm a predator and I'm looking to sexual solicit somebody on an online gaming app, I'm going to look for stuff like this. I'm going to listen for stuff like this. This is what predators do. So you get on there and you're on a gaming network and you're like, oh yeah, my name is Jason Nelson, man, I live in Maricopa. Yeah, dude, we're gaming hard today. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. I've already know that his name is Jason Nelson, he lives in Maricopa.
She had started trying to go out and date again. And it's really hard for young adults to date. And there's a lot of sites out there that you can just meet people, you can, look at profiles. Well, she was talking to this gentleman. She had gone out on a few dates and just nothing, just nope, next. And we communicated, but, she's 24. So you think that she knows what she's doing. She had decided to go ahead and go out with this gentleman. He had told her that he was ex-military. He had posed in one of his pictures as a military uniform. He was never in the military. He had told her that he was close to God, and that his mother was everything to him after knowing, now that we know that he had, had plenty of fights with her and busted her nose, and that was not a good relationship. He said that he was, a correctional officer at the prison. That was a lie. He never had a job. So she went out with him. She met with him. She started talking to him April 17th. She went and met him April 19th. He killed her. Brutally killed her. Her blood was everywhere in his apartment. And then he took her out to Tonopah and he buried her. When we talk about burning bodies, we're blessed that he didn't burn her body, because everything else was burned. Her car that he drove her out in was completely metal. That's all that was left. There was nothing. No tires, no nothing, no cloth, nothing. It rainbowed. It was so hot. And any belongings, her purse, we believe was there only because a buckle was found. Buttons were found that might have been part of a purse. Her inhaler was found, her metal part of the cylinder of her inhaler, but there was nothing else left. She was there. He is behind bars for the rest of his life, and he will never get out. There's not a possibility of parole. He was charged with first-degree premeditated murder and was found guilty. So, but she just started dating. That was it. And he lured her in every way possible. The text messages that he's talking about,
Where did they meet at? Do you know?
yeah, plenty of fish. Oh, where did they meet?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I know
they
met
went.
online, but what was
Oh, where did they go and meet? She was stupid, and she went and met him in his apartment. Mm-hmm.
Well, that's just very common.
Wait,
I
which is
know.
Very common.
and here's the clincher. He was married. He had a girlfriend that he lived with, and that's the apartment she went to. And she had a young daughter that would come over there as well. Mainly lived with her parents, but would come over there. And he had a girlfriend in Chandler, and was dating on these websites, and lured her. I mean, everything in the text messages played into everything that she was looking for in Prince Charming.
He groomed her.
He groomed her.
He knew exactly what he was doing, and he groomed her, and that's exactly what predators do.
Mhm.
And we're not talking about a young child here. We're talking about a 24-year-old young lady. Fraud and scams will come into play with the younger kids. If they can get information from the younger kids, they'll open credit cards, they'll do everything in your child's name, and when your child turns 18, they're going to find out they have a credit score of 200. Always report stolen passwords. Always report everything that you feel is not appropriate. Sexting is the sending of inappropriate pictures. It would be like, hey, I really miss you. I really want to see you dress something sexy for me. And so the kid takes the picture and sends it. That picture's now on the internet for the rest of their lives. Period. Never get it back. And that will come back to haunt them later on as well. Here's the good news is sexting is not as predominant as, say, sex trafficking. Sexting, kids do. You can see the study there. 12 to 17, 7.1 say they have received a sext. That's just what's being reported. I see on kids' tablets and iPads all the time, selfies. Whatever their selfies are taking in the bedroom, they're sending off to other people. That's basically what sexting is. Now, you will have predators getting a hold of young girls and boys and trying to get pictures of them. And there's been multiple cases of prosecutions from sexting. It's not uncommon now for kids 12 and up to be sexually active. It's not common. It is very common nowadays. Back when we were growing up, a lot of people made it to 18 in marriage before they even had a sexual encounter. Nowadays, you're talking even as young as 10 to 11. I've heard of some cases where they've gone pregnant. Suspension or expulsion from school, that's a big one. I pretty much think every single district school and every single charter school, if you're caught sexting with pornography, you're pretty much suspended or expelled. It's kind of like bringing a weapon on campus. There's no leniency in the policy. Was it a 14-year-old and a 14-year-old? Was it a senior, an 18-year-old senior, and a sophomore? They're going to do it more or less case by case. Now, if it's obviously always an adult, they're done. Mm-hmm. And that's why it's important to report it to police. Hey, I found my daughter sexting. Can we find out who she was sexting to? If you have a 14-year-old or a 16-year-old sexually active, you need to talk talk to them about sexual relationships. Explain to them, okay? Don't not talk about it. That's the worst thing you could ever do. Most socialization is done through social media sites. There are 60 plus current popular social media sites being used right now in America. There's hundreds worldwide. It's natural for children to be curious about sex, right? It's natural. They see mom, dad kiss. They see it. They see it in schools now. The PDA in schools is out of control. And basically, your predators will prey on that. They'll prey on that sexual curiosity. And they'll try to groom them and find a way in.
It's not bad to have a sexual, we're meant to be.
Well, and
right.
that's where you.
And they shouldn't be ashamed of having natural sexual curiosity.
No, they
Which
shouldn't.
is why it's so important to give them a safe place to explore those feelings and try to understand them and put them into a correct
safe
boundaries,
place.
a safe place.
And that's-
you give them nowhere to go with it.
Absolutely.
You've got it.
I mean, there's a whole generation, I think, of parents who are like, never talk about it,
Yep.
never discuss it, never give them a place to go with it.
And
And
we-
so then it was just a shame if you talked about it, and it found another place to go.
Yep, and we go back a few slides,
Well,
and I emphasized on talking about sexual relationships. You must talk to your children about appropriate sexual relationships.
Right.
Because if not, older brother, older sister, older friend, whose parents aren't talking to them about it, you can bet they're going to learn from them. Most teens are solicited by their peers or young adults. And this is important right here. They do it in a very casual way as to where it didn't bother them enough, but sooner or later, if it keeps being done, they're going to be desensitized to it. You know, like they send, if let's say we're talking about a girl sends a guy's six-pack with just a little bit of his underwear shown. The next one may actually be more of his underwear shown. The next one after that may be a buttock, and the next one after that, and after that, and after that, to the point where they've desensitized them enough that it bothers them to go tell you. If your child is coming home with gifts and you didn't pay for them, that should be a red flag. It's so much easier to cyberbully now because you actually don't run the risk of getting your butt kicked right there, standing there. In the old days, if you walked up and started bullying somebody, they had the ability to fight back. Cyberbullying has become the #1 way to harass people, and junior high and high school are the worst at meeting people. I teach the bullying class here, and girls are more likely to bully than boys. They'll minimize their screens because they want you to see if they're bullying somebody. They'll be laughing. They'll be doing all kinds of stuff on the computer that is not regimented. I see this all the time with YouTubes, how kids are with their earbuds in, and they're laughing, and they're like, oh, we're just watching YouTube. Are you? Or are you bullying somebody? You got to walk that borderline of being a parent and a friend. You'll always be the parent, but the point when you're talking to them needs to be more friendly. Okay? Okay, so this is what our guidelines are going to be. This is what the consequences are going to be. This is what the consequences are if you decide to have sex early. This is what can happen. This is this and this and this and this. You just have to talk to them. Restricted access on your kid's phone, but does that parent have restricted access on their kid's
Right.
phone?
So
So they're looking at pornography or they're talking to a predator because they don't have restricted access, and next thing you know, hey, he's going to pick us up around the corner. Now your child has just become involved and kidnapped as well because she happened to be with this person.
Yep.
Now, you can't control everything in the world, and this is where you got to kind of put a little trust in your children, but talking to your children, letting them know the signs and what to do, definitely gives them the opportunity for a way out. No, I don't know that person, I'm not going with them, have fun. She may end up kidnapped, God forbid, but at least your daughter didn't, or your son. And that's another misconception. A lot of people think it's just girls that are sex trafficking.
Mm-mm.
It's boys too, boys and men. And I can't tell you how many videos are out there. You just do your research, and it's never ending on social experiments, real life missed and grabs. It's out there.